talk about twin flames or soulmates or divine counterparts, about why I believe labels are important. I mean, you hear all the times labels are not important, and I kind of agree, but yet I'm making a video on why they are important. And the thing is, they're not important if you are in a happy relationship. And if it's not a twin flame, if it's a soulmate connection, but you label it as a twin flame and you're totally happy, doesn't matter. Be happy. Labels do not matter in that case. Okay, but there are other situations where labels do matter. And this is what we're going to talk about in this video. But before we go there, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Janine. I am a coach. I have been for many years. I do tarot card readings. I am a manifestation coach. I am an astrologer, and I have been working in the spiritual field for more than 16 years now. And so I have spoken to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and in this channel I want to use my expertise that came from excessive research, my experience, downloads I had from spirit, since I am a medium, and I want to teach you some of the things that I have learned on my personal journey. And since I have spoken to, again, thousands and thousands of people, I have noticed that many people label somebody a twin flame and they're not. And again, if they're in a happy relationship, no problem, it is amazing. But it gets difficult if you are in some kind of a more like toxic relationship, or sorry, in the some people unfortunately just connect twin flames with running and chasing, which is like this small portion that is not even a part so much of the monadic twin flames. It's more of the split twin flames. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, I do have a video on different kind of divine counterparts. The problem is, first of all, if you're just in a connection there's just a running and chasing going on, that can be trauma bonding, and in my opinion it is belittling a divine connection if you see it as just that, because a divine connection is way more. There's huge awakening going on, there's healing going on, and there's so much stuff going on, and that running and chasing is just an important factor in order to trigger old wounds. But any soulmate can do that. Any soulmate, and karmics, and trauma bonding can be as well the case. And that's the problem. People are often putting someone on a pedestal, maybe a catalyst, and labeling them twin flame. Why is it a problem? Because the term twin flame, unfortunately, it gets belittled so much. It's a sacred bond. It is something really sacred. And there's so many people who, you could say, throw mud at it just by saying, oh, it's the running chasing, so it's a twin flame connection. There's so much, I have to say it, BS out there when it comes to different connections, that any person who, for example, meets a catalyst, and yes, with a catalyst you can have that love at first sight, you can have that instant soul recognition, because if you have a catalyst that is supposed to help you grow, then that person has to get close to you, and it has to be something that feels special, not just like any other person you've met. It has to be something that feels extraordinary. And before all the triggering starts, so usually there is this very harmonious beginning, and then all of a sudden it's like the tower in Tarot, everything just blows up and you go through that process. But again, that is not secluded to twin flames at all, not at all. But again, there's so much stigma on that. For example, like a twin flame is a divine counterpart you are always connected with, and that is true. A monadic twin flame, you're always, those are very rare, very rare. Okay, chance you're a monadic twin flame if you are still in pain, if the other person is, for example, not available, if there is triggering, if not triggered. Monadic twin flames can be triggering as well, but not because the other person is doing something, but because often there's like this age gap or something like that. And again, not every person you meet and there's in connection there's an age gap does not automatically mean twin flame. Very important. So if you are still very wounded and mad at your person, blaming them, then sorry, you are nowhere in the energy of attracting a divine counterpart. Yeah, you know, if you're still in victim mode, I'm sorry if you're being blunt, but that's how it is. If you still are in victim mode, you're not in the high vibrational energy to attract a monadic twin flame. You would only attract a monadic twin flame once you have basically healed most of that baggage. And because a twin flame, a monadic twin flame, does not come for healing, it comes for ascension. A split twin flame, however, you share one oversoul and then it's split into two different souls. They have energy bonds between the chakras, and they can come with some kind of struggle, and they usually do have the runner chaser stuff, you know, but you do always stay connected to that person, and that is true. So let's imagine one person who is meeting a catalyst or a karmic or some trauma bonding situation, and they feel this attraction. They can't get rid of that person. Why would your soul want to get rid of your person if there's so much learning to do? Because your soul does not want to bypass. I always say we attract soulmates, and a karmic would be a soulmate. If we have a wound, then they don't come to put a plaster on our wound so we don't see it. They come to poke right into it to show you there's a wound, take care of it. If we have fear of abandonment, they don't come to sit on our couch so we don't feel that fear. They come to leave us so that that fear that has been in our subconscious all along, that oppressed trauma is coming up so that we get a chance to heal it. But if you are dealing with something like that, and then you have that belief system, oh my god, it's my twin flame, I will never get rid of that person, I can never get over that person, and it's not your twin flame, that can be severely damaging. That can cause self-fulfilling prophecies. Do remember, we do manifest according to our beliefs. So if you build that belief falsely that is your twin flame, and now you got the belief, oh my god, I can never get rid of my twin flame and we're gonna be stuck for forever. And then there's other people who are not dealing with twin flames and they're like, yeah, twin flames still are not meant to be together. Again, that's not true. That is other people meeting someone that are not twin flames, confusing that, and then projecting their own BS onto somebody else, saying it's impossible for twin flames to come together or they're not meant to be together. And so you have these huge limiting belief systems that keep you stuck to your person because you made them the other half of your soul, so you can never ever get away from them. You can never get away from them. And as long as you're holding on to that belief, you're stuck in some kind of relationship where you can't get together because there's unhealed trauma. You can only get together when there is unhealed trauma, and you can't get rid of because you manifest that person always being in your life. And as long as you hold on to that belief, you cannot get out of that, and that can be extremely damaging. Okay, in any kind of connection, also twin flames, but also others, we attract mirrors. And if we have, usually in my opinion, there's like three major issues that I always tell my clients. One is fear of abandonment issues, and that is usually connected to mom. Many people think, yeah, relationship when you're a woman, it's connected to that. No, that is connected to the inner masculine we have, and the inner masculine is more connected to school, work. So if you have problems at work, if you don't get recognition at work, that would be more like daddy issues. Whereas mom, doesn't matter what gender we are, mom is usually the first person to nurture us. Of course, it can be that in your family the roles were reversed and your father was the motherly figure and your mom was more the masculine energy, then it could be father issues. And in that scenario, but usually the mother is in the mother energy and the father in the father energy, and then the mother usually is the first person to nurture us, to give us that warmth, to connect with us, and therefore she is basically programming our subconscious, when how that will affect our relationships later on. So it may be mother issues, and that could be, for example, mom was not very emotionally open, she was not emotionally available even though she was there. So that can cause the fear of abandonment, or she had to work a lot, or there were, for example, special needs siblings or younger siblings that then needed more attention because they were infants, for example. And these wounds can create the fear of abandonment. Of course, it could also be something like, oh gosh, I had all of that. When I was born, I had to stay in the hospital for like a month. And so there was a first separation. Then when I was 4 years old, I had surgery and I had to stay in hospital for 3 weeks all by myself. I was not allowed to leave the bed. And then, yeah, I was hurt, so I had another surgery, the second surgery, again when I was 4 years old. And again, I had to stay in the hospital for another 3 weeks. And then when I was like 6, I had panic attacks all the time, so I had to vomit. And you can't see it right now, but when I was a child, I was very skinny because I had to vomit basically every day. And so I was sent away from my health for children with some kind of eating disorders. And talking about manifestation, that's what the subconscious makes of that. It's like, oh, when you're too skinny, it's not good, and you get sent away. And the subconscious is like, okay, I'm making sure you're not too skinny anymore. And then that happens, for example, you know. So if you have been separated from your mom, or maybe she was in a hospital for a while, or whatever, or you have been taken away from your family for a while, things like that can, of course, create fear of abandonment issues. But again, it could be your mom just not being emotional. So that is usually it's connected to mom. It could be a tragedy that happened later on, for example, death in the family or whatever. But usually it's that. And when we have fear of abandonment, how can you attract a mirror that is there? You cannot possibly attract a mirror that's there. You can only attract someone who is leaving you. So that fear gets triggered and you do the work. The second thing is self-love. When you don't love yourself, how are you supposed to attract somebody who loves you? You can only attract somebody who's mirroring you, that you don't love yourself. And that starts, and I know all of the empath, I know that myself, you know, helping, you always want to help. That can be an issue. And I'm not saying become like a narcissist or don't help anymore. If somebody needs help, we help always, of course. But you probably know the situations, you're invited and you don't feel good that day, and you're still like, I don't want to go, I want to lay on my couch, I don't want to go to this, I don't know, birthday or whatever it is, and you do it anyway. By that, you're showing the universe, look universe, I don't deserve to be treated good, I don't do it myself, I don't deserve somebody who puts me first, I don't even put myself first, okay? So if you constantly neglect your own needs, how do you want to attract somebody that is taking your needs serious? You can only attract somebody who is neglecting your needs, like you do yourself. And so that's another thing, self-love. How do you treat yourself? How do you think about yourself? Can you set boundaries? Can you take breaks when your body needs a break or your mind needs a break? Do you sometimes, I don't know, buy the $3 chocolate instead of the $1 chocolate that is cheaper? Do you sometimes do yourself good? And if you do that, then you can attract somebody who is putting you first, who is treating you in the way you want. You have to treat yourself in the way you want to be treated first. And the third thing is focus. The universe always thinks you want what you focus on. So if you focus on your person being mean to you, that's the order that gets to the universe. Oh, you like somebody who's mean to you. Yeah, we got this guy over there. Or you think, you focus on your person. Yeah, he's never reaching out. Oh, you want your person to stay away from you. We got this. Or, yeah, he doesn't respect me. Oh, you want somebody who treats you disrespectful. Okay, Your wish is our command, you know? So spirit things you want to experience wherever you put your focus. If you put your focus on, I don't know, he is with another person, you ordering another person into your experience. How is that guy supposed to leave that other person if you're constantly manifesting that other the third party? You have to get into the energy where you no longer give energy into the third party. It's not your person's fault if there is a third party when you constantly manifesting it. It's never the other person's fault because you choose the timeline with your energy. You know, if you can imagine being with your person and being the only one, and only because this timeline exists. It does exist. It's not your person holding you in this timeline away from that timeline. It's your own energy, your own focus, your own unhealed stuff that is preventing you from getting into the timeline where your person is ready for you. So it's never the other person's fault. But if you are, again, in this kind of victim mentality, first of all, again, when you are still in victim mentality, you're not dealing with a divine counterpart. Or you, in the very, very beginning, you just met, and it's like maybe, I don't know, like the first year stuff. It takes a while to really get on the journey. But if it's going for years and steam stuff is going on, it's not a divine counterpart. You cannot attract a divine counterpart when you are in distorted energy. When you are in distorted energy, you can only attract somebody who's distorted. That does not mean that that person cannot be your life partner once you cleared the distorted energy and you're manifesting them. Then you can live, you can have your happy after with your person. Even if it's not a twin flame, that is okay. It doesn't have to be a twin flame to be your forever happy ever after person, right? But you manifest that. But again, if you put somebody toxic, again, what is toxic? You manifest that person to be the way they are by putting your focus on it, and by also not having unhealed stuff that is getting mirrored to you. So again, it's not the other person. If you are blaming anybody else, then sorry for being blunt, you still got some way to go. I know I'm being very blunt, but it's very important for me that you understand. And I often learned that when I sugarcoat stuff, people don't really get it as much as when I'm just like blurting it out. And that's more important for me, for you to understand. So again, it can cause severe damage if you falsely label somebody a twin flame when it's just trauma bonding. And that is something that is happening very regularly. I would say most of my clients are trauma bonding. And again, you can still have your forever happy after with that person once you clean your stuff. You can. If that is what you're manifesting. Or you can, attract another person in once you reached a certain level. Because you can only, and that's another thing, you can only attract somebody who's at your level. So many people think, oh, I'm so much further ahead. I'm going to make a video on that, but you cannot be ahead of your twin flame. It's not possible. Or any other person. You can only attract people who mirror you, and that means they also mirror your belief systems. If you have the belief system, yeah, they got so much work to do, then that's the timeline you get. That's the version you get. You get the person that always has a lot of work to do until you change that belief in yourself, that limiting belief. And because again, you choose the timeline. So, but another factor, why can it be important to label? Well, one thing is to understand. And if you are not trauma bonding, but you are on a authentic relationship journey, like divine counterpart journey, it can help to, when you find the right label, it can help you understand. And because it can be very confusing. And I have to admit, I have been on this journey since I was 19. When I was 19, I met a catalyst that I now know is a mirror soul. That is, not a mirror soul, a soul twin. Mirror soul is something else. A soul twin, which is a very close kind of soulmate. And it's, to be precise, it's a kind of soulmate that has a lot of your energy. And if you want to know more information, again, I do have that video on different kind of divine counterparts, and there is a whole section about soul twins. also about astrology and of soul twins to explain the energy. And when you get into astrology, you can figure out if it's that kind of label, because it's a different energy than a split twin flame or a monadic twin flame. But you may confuse that, because when you read about twin flames, a lot of that applies to that specific soul connection as well, which usually is a very beautiful connection and not so much trauma. However, if you have unhealed stuff, then that would be mirroring. For me, for example, it was abandonment issues, so that person was not emotionally available, but there was no fighting, there was no bickering. Very nice guy, very nice guy. So there was nothing like toxic going on. The only thing that was going on was I had fears of abandonment, and he mirrored that by not being available for me. Not because he was with another person, that was not the reason. It just, yeah, it was also like bad timing. Like every time we got closer, the universe kind of like threw a curveball, like someone in his family died or stuff like that. So that was just never meant to happen, but he was in a catalyst for me. He was around the time I met him, I started doing tarot readings. He was one of the reasons why I started meditating, because I wanted to understand this connection. I had a special connection that was more than I had ever experienced before, and I was very cynic at that point, and I didn't believe it, love at first sight. And then boom, I met this guy, and it was love at first sight, and I actually would have married him the day after if he had asked me. So there was this soul recognition, and it was very harmonious, and he was a huge catalyst for me. And if you hear that, then you would think like, oh yeah, that sounds like a twin flame. It does, but it's not a twin flame. It was a catalyst, very close soulmate. And for me, he came into my life to prepare me for my journey. He did not come into my life. It took me many years to understand that. But he came into my life to actually prepare me for what was to come. So, yeah, but the energy is still a bit different of a twin flame. And I cannot say I wish I had this information earlier, because I think Spirit gave it to me, everything in bites at the right time. But then I met my split twin flame, and the thing is, a couple of weeks before I met him, I was meditating, and an angel, it was Uriel, told me to find the other half of my soul. And again, half, you know, there's no half souls, I always say that, but that was just like the way it was spoken to me, so that I would understand. At that point, I didn't know anything about twin flames. That was 2009, and I met that person a couple of weeks later, and then like 1.5 years in, I learned about twin flames, and I was like, oh my god, that fits like the telepathic connection and knowing each other better than any person ever before. He acknowledged that too, and all of that stuff. You know, if I would go in detail about that person, you think like, yeah, that sounds like a twin flame. Well, it was a split twin flame, but for me, he was also a catalyst for the monadic twin flame, which is a whole different story. And when I met him, I felt I had this, right before I met him, or I knew I would meet him, I had this Kundalini awakening. So a twin flame, of course, comes with some kind of spiritual awakening. It's part of your ascension. Sorry. So if you don't have like a major ascension going on, and like you see all of the divine counterparts I encountered, there was some kind of major awakening going on within me, the split twin as well. And when I met the monadic twin flame, I didn't know the difference. I thought I felt this connection, and it was more intense with the guy before, and I was completely at loss. And I kind of wish, part of me wishes that I had known what I know now. But again, Spirit gives us information at the right time. So if you're watching this video, it's the right time for you to understand. But I'm just trying to explain there's different type of divine counterparts. And if you hear about twin flames for the first time, you would see like, oh, it sounds like that. But then looking back, it was not that. And if you watch the other video about divine counterparts, again, I go also into astrology for all of them, different parts, and I explain the energies. It's like in 2.5 hour video. I can't, of course, cover all of that right now. So why can a label be different? Ultimately, when you're with the love of your life, it does not matter if it's a soulmate, if it's a mirror soul, if it's a soul twin, if it's a split twin flame, if it's a twin flame. It does not matter. Honestly, if you're with the love of your life, that's the love of your life, and that's the only label that's important. You don't need any other label. But the label are important again if you put somebody falsely on that pedestal, and that's, I think, where the false twin flames come in. People just read about twin flames, the next person, they have some connection, they're like, oh, that's my twin flame, and then they realize, oh no, it's not, and it was just trauma bonding. I wouldn't label the two guys before that as twin flames, because there was a real connection, because there was awakening going on, and that is kind of like how you know the difference as well, if it's like a real connection or something that's in your head. But again, the labeling, it can be important to understand the different energy, because it can help to navigate a bit on your journey. It can help you understand, it can help you heal, if you know what you can do in order to get out of that pain state, for example. So for that reason, I believe labels are important. Basically, they're just important to know what kind of research you can do, what kind of, to understand, because again, understanding can be very important to get through that journey. And I didn't really have anyone navigating me. When I met my monadic twin flame, I was confused, because I thought I already had met my twin flame, where I experienced a telepathic bond and all of that, like all of the boxes you would read for a twin flame. So I was very confused, and someday I was on my pacemaker that used to be back there, but it burnt down literally a couple of weeks ago. I remembered a text that I had read earlier. It was a German text about split twin flames, in German Dualseelen, which means duality souls, and then monadic twin flames, just twin flames, and I had discarded it. I had read it years earlier, and all of a sudden I just remembered that and googled that text and read it, and I was like, oh my god, that's going on with me. And the same day I went grocery shopping, and I got like all of the numbers on license plates, like 1111, like triple and quadruple, all the ones, twos, threes, like probably like on that 40-minute walk both ways, probably like 60 times I saw all of the numbers. And a lot of other signs that were just the first day. And signs and synchronicities will be off the charts with the split twin flame, but even more so with the monadic twin flames. Sorry, you get signs every day, multiple. And so I wasn't lucky enough to really have a coach, somebody who was walking in front of me. I basically had to figure it out by myself, and since I know that can be confusing, very confusing, I wanted to create this video to make it easier for you to understand. Again, I'm not going into detail at the different type of counterparts. I have a separate video for that. This is just why labels can be important, so you don't confuse trauma bonding with it. That's for one. On a negative, if you are actually not dealing with a divine counterpart, and if you are dealing with a divine counterpart, the label can help you understand the energy of that specific connection in order to help you ascend. But ultimately, again, if you're in union, it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. Love is love. A soul connection is a soul connection. Always say one is not better than the other. It is in your soul's blueprint which one you live in this life. So that is actually nothing you can consciously choose. If you're not a twin flame, you cannot manifest being a twin flame. Just as when you are born into one family, you cannot manifest being unborn in that family and born into another family. You can be adopted by another family, yeah. You can attract something that is very similar than a twin flame, which would be a mirror soul then. But you cannot, yeah, be unborn in one family and be reborn in another. That's not possible, and it's also not possible being a twin flame when you're not. You know, that's just. But everybody can attract a divine counterpart, since there are several types of divine counterpart, and that you can attract. Absolutely, absolutely. And once you do that, again, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter then. My kid is sitting on my table. He's not allowed to do that. Berlioz. Hey, 9. Okay, I think we're going to stop now. I have to chase him off there. He's not allowed. He knows that. And yeah, if this helped you in any way, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. There's more content to come. I am available for personal coaching if you are dealing with a twin flame, divine counterpart, whatever it is. I'm so sorry. And yeah, I hopefully see you in another video. Bye bye.